Hey y'all, Maya and Magda here.
Today we are going to run through the history of feminism and women's rights in America, as well as the part it plays in today's world. So, really simple stuff.
So, what is the women's equality movement and feminism? Feminism is the basic argument that women should have equal social, political, economic, and intellectual standing as men. But defining feminism is really hard because there are lots of types of feminists. There are even some feminists who argue that the patriarchy, the male-dominated system of oppression that feminists believe we live under, affects not just women, but men and people across the spectrum.
We traditionally recognize the start of this movement as the Seneca Falls Convention in July of 1848. From this movement, we got the Declaration of Sentiments and the 19th Amendment, which guarantees the right to vote for all women. It is important to remember that this movement largely focused on the rights of wealthy, upper-class, white women. Women of color had a separate movement led mainly by Sojourner Truth, a former slave, with her groundbreaking speech, Ain't I a Woman, which had the political power of the Gettysburg Address and the popularity of Beyonce's We Run the World.
The second wave of feminism erupted during the 60s and 70s.
From this wave, we saw a lot of great things in the White House, such as the President's Commission on the Status of Women, led by Eleanor Roosevelt, the ultimate political badass, and the Equal Pay Act of 1963.
But we also saw an incredible amount of action at the grassroots level. People of all ages and races, as well as emerging activist groups, were swept up in mass protests, marches, debates, feats of activism. There was an overall cry for the rebellion and liberation of women. We also saw women dramatically increase their presence in the workforce.
And now we arrive in the mid-90s, where feminism, back to you by popular demand, is led by what are known as Gen Xers, or those born during the 60s and 70s. Third wave feminism was targeted at media stereotypes and reclaiming the ideas of womanhood, sexuality, beauty, masculinity, and femininity as depicted in popular culture and media. Think Salt and Pepper, underground feminist punk, or even the Dove's Evolution of Beauty campaign.
And that brings us to today. While the advancements and activism we just discussed were amazing and successful in so many ways, there are still a whole host of issues that women face domestically and internationally.
We don't have time to cover all of these complex topics in this video, so instead we are going to zoom in on some of the most important issues.
So number one, the wage gap. This is simply the fact that in today's society, women are paid less than men for doing the same or similar jobs. In 2017, women earned 82% of what men earned. So basically, in 2017, it would take an extra 47 days for a woman to earn what a man did. While there are a lot of different factors at play here, one of the main ones is discrimination at work.
Number two, domestic violence. Across the nation, 1 in 3 women have been physically assaulted by an intimate partner at some point during their lifetime. While 20,000 calls are placed to domestic violence hotlines in the U.S. daily, women and trans women between the ages of 18 and 24 are consistently found to be the most common victims. This epidemic of violence has been shown to have serious consequences economically, mentally, and physically on the victims. Additionally, domestic violence has been found to correlate with higher rates of depression and suicidal behavior.
Number 3, sexual assault on college campuses. Sexual assault is the violent crime least often reported to law enforcement. About 20% of college women are sexually assaulted, while the same is true for only 6% of college men. However, only 20% of victims report this to law enforcement. Like domestic abuse, rape and sexual assault have devastating consequences on a woman's physical and mental health, often leading to depression and suicidal behavior.
Number 4, reproductive rights. The sexual and reproductive rights of women are one of the many topics mentioned and guarded by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So it's all good, right?
Yeah, no. Sorry, babe. While this topic may seem super modern from the debates and headlines that have come to light in recent years, this issue actually gained popularity in the second wave of feminism. In 1973, the Supreme Court case Roe v. Wade declared it a constitutional right for a woman to choose to terminate her pregnancy. But while the case banned states from denying a woman her right to an abortion, other rulings allowed states to regulate the procedure. This issue is super polarized, with 47% of America supporting legalized abortion, while 44% oppose it.
Those who oppose abortion are known as the pro-life group. This group believes that life begins at conception and considers abortion similar to homicide.
Those who support legalized abortion are known as the pro-choice group. This group believes that women have the absolute right to choose what happens to their body. Number 5, girls' education around the world.
You've probably heard something about this from stories like Malala Yousafzai's that dominated the news and popular media for a while. But here's the lowdown.
According to UNESCO, 145 million girls worldwide do not go to school. There are a lot of reasons for this. Most often, families who cannot afford to send all of their children to school will only invest in education for their sons.
Other factors include forced child marriage, early pregnancy, housework, or distance. Many schools in such areas where the issue is most prevalent don't have proper sanitary, safety, or academic facilities for girls. Additionally, gender-based violence is increasingly prevalent near and around these schools.
Education has been declared a basic human right by the United Nations, but why is that important?
Well, it's because there's a ton of unseen benefits to actually educating girls. According to research conducted by UNICEF, if all women had access to secondary education, child deaths would drop by 49%.
In addition, if all women had secondary education in sub-Saharan Africa and South and West Asia, child marriage would drop by 64%. So, we presented you with a lot of information today.
Now it's time to take action. Take a look at the action videos labeled on our channel to explore ways that you can make a difference and take charge in the fight for women's equality.
We'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And share this video with anyone who you think might find it interesting or inspiring.
Thanks for watching!